Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. This is the Abarth 500e. It's actually the convertible version, and today I'm going to be driving this car, I'm going to be exploring this car, and I'm going to be showing you some of the features of this car. I'm going to be comparing it to the Fiat 500e which I drove last year and seeing what difference the Abarth part of this car makes. So firstly, if I show you some of the features of the car, you've noticed it's got the Scorpion Abarth logo at the front, and it's littered with Scorpion Abarth logos all over the car. But you can see that the car does look a lot like the Fiat 500e, except it's just it looks a bit different, and there's something that you can't quite put your finger on. But I think it's the sort of this front grille at the bottom here, and you get this sort of white front splitter. But as we move towards the side of the car, the thing that you can notice is, well, again, more Scorpion badging, which looks really cool. But you get these 18-inch alloy wheels, which look really cool as well. That's part of the Turismo pack, which costs £4,000 more than the standard Abarth 500e. And of course, because this is a soft top convertible version, that's another £3,000 on top. And as we move towards the back of the car, it's mostly unchanged. It looks a bit more like a Fiat 500e from behind, but still it looks pretty. You can immediately tell when looking at this car that there's something different about it, and that's because this is the Abarth 500e. And I'm going to take it out for a drive and see how it feels. But first, let me show you the interior, because that's quite interesting as well. Right, the interior of the Abarth 500e is interesting. With this particular version, because it's the Turismo version, you get leather seats with Alcantara insert, so it's really nice and soft to touch. And you get Alcantara on the dashboard and around the cabin. In fact, there are some plastics, but not where you would immediately look. It actually feels really nice. You've got this a leather and Alcantara steering wheel with the sort of center marker in blue to match the rest of the car as well. And you've got a load of Easter eggs which you normally get in Fiat 500es, like in the door handle you get the Made in Torino and a little car in there, and you get the Turin skyline in the center, center compartment basically. And of course, in the Turismo model you also get wireless phone charging. So those are the things that separate this from the Abarth 500e, and of course from the normal Fiat 500e. But the rest of the car is generally the same. You get a 10.25 inch screen, 10.25 inch central infotainment screen, and you get a digital display in front of you as well for your instrument cluster. And it also has a performance mode as well. So inside it feels so much like a Fiat 500e, except it's just a little bit more special. You can see that there's contrasting blue and lime stitching here, which is signature colors for the Abarth. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Let's try and take off. Well, actually, sorry, no, before I do that, I'm going to show you another really interesting feature about this car. Because this car is the Abarth and it's loud and it's brash, check this out. When you start the car, I don't know if you quite heard that. That was a sort of a guitar riff that happens, which just basically kind of sets it up to basically say, this car's crazy, are you ready? Space in the back of the Abarth 500e is the same as in the Fiat 500e. You can get adults in here, but they are severely going to struggle, especially for legroom. You're really going to be poking the passengers and the driver in the front with your knees. When I had the Fiat 500e, I actually tried to get one of my cousins into the back, and he's 6'10" or something, quite big, and he got stuck in here. So Ibi, if you're watching this, I've got another car to try and get you into the back of. Space in the back of the Abarth 500e is pretty much the same as the Fiat 500e. You get 185 litres, which is less than what you get in the Mini Electric, but it's slightly more than you get in the Honda E. But you got to remember that the Honda E has 4 doors, so it's easier to get in and out of the back seats as well. But because this is the convertible version, you only get this sort of little hatch boot here, and that's all you get. And if you've got charging cables, which is what you need with this car, that's going to take up some space. But I'm quite confident that it's enough for your shopping. So with 157 miles range, that's mostly where you're going to be going. So when driving the Abarth 500e, the first thing you will notice is that sound generator. Now that sound is coming from speakers, one inside the cabin and one underneath the car. And at idle, it sounds pretty cool. It's basically Abarth's way of appealing to the petrol head, especially in this new electrical era where most cars are becoming either hybrid or EV. It's basically Abarth's way of not taking itself too seriously and allowing us to still enjoy some of that sound, which is obviously what a lot of people complain about with EVs. But have they executed it well? I'm not quite sure, because at idle the car sounds really well, but when you are driving the car at a constant speed like this, it's just a constant drone. Now you can turn off that sound, but rather strangely it's not from your central infotainment system, it's actually from your instrument cluster, and it's not the easiest setting to find, and you have to do it when the car is stopped. So that's a little bit frustrating. But otherwise, what is the car like to drive? Well, it's actually rather enjoyable. I'm actually comparing this car to the Fiat 500e, which I had I think last year, and this car is not that much different in terms of the driving feel. You have got a very responsive throttle, accelerator pedal, and the brakes are more than enough to stop this sort of car. This car doesn't weigh a lot. I think it's under 1.5 ton, so it's really good. All the batteries, the 42 kilowatt hour batteries, sit low down in the car, so you can get better center of gravity, and of course you've got a nice decent ride height. I mean, obviously with a small car like this, you're not going to expect it to be that high, but you are sitting a little bit upright, which is good. You've noticed the dimensions of the car. It does sit a little bit upright, so it is easy to park, and it's easy to just nip around in the city and on the country roads as well. But the country roads is where this car should come into its own. Even though it's got that those small dimensions, it's got a small wheelbase and those 18-inch wheels, it still does really well over these bumps to the point where it's not uncomfortable. So it's a car that you can use in a variety of situations, and the performance is great as well with this car. The car produces 150 brake horsepower, and it's got plenty of torque for a car of this size, and so you've always got that instant hit that you need. And it's quite abrupt, to be honest. This car is, even though the 0 to 62 miles per hour time is 7 seconds, it's the rolling acceleration which is meant to be the main talking point, I suppose, of the car, which is between roughly around 25 miles an hour and 35 miles an hour. It can suddenly accelerate because it's got that torque. So if we're going from 30 to 40 miles an hour, it is really quite abrupt. I'm quite conscious that I don't want to be driving too fast, but that's just as an example of what this car can do. If we do that again, if I slow it down a little bit, down to about 25 miles an hour, and you get a bit of torque steer. I actually got quite a bit of torque steer there, more than I was expecting, so that's one thing to know. But yeah, over these bumps the car does really well, and it seems like the sort of car which is enjoyable to drive because of that low weight. It's a nice formula that comes together, and they've Abarth have engineered it really well together, I suppose. But is it going to appeal to the petrol head? Well, I think if you turn off that sound generator, then this may be a car that I think the true petrol heads, the true Abarth lovers will like. And I'm starting to get used to that sound now, actually. I wouldn't want it on a long journey. Well, I don't know. I might like it on a long journey, but currently it is quite loud, and I hope you can hear me in this video. Yes, it is fun. It is fun. The 500e was fun, so why wouldn't the Abarth be fun? If anything, I was a bit worried that it might be a little bit too stiff. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not. It lives up really well, and I think it's pretty cool. The Abarth 500e, a very interesting car, one that you should have a look at, explore if you can, because this is a small taste into the future, I suppose.